Hey, this is Videobob, and I just got a new tool for the shop, and in my opinion, anyone who works on cars needs to have one of these. Okay, now let me start off by saying I am not an expert in this thing at all, so I really have no business even talking about this thing because I'm still new to it, but it has really made a difference around here at the shop. Now, let me show you what we got here. This is made by a company called Autel. It's basically a little iPad. This is the MaxiSys MS9, what is that, 906BT Bluetooth. Let me get my old man glasses out. And it's called the Bluetooth because the plug that plugs into your OBD2 is this little Bluetooth. And you know what's cool? It has a little flashlight built into it so you can find it. I just thought it was cool. I was impressed. And there's a little mini USB port on the back for interfacing with this thing. Now, while I'm booting this thing up, because it's basically a droid, I'll show you some of the things that came with this particular kit. Came with a whole host of other adapters. These are different dongles and things that work with various different cars. You got Mitsubishi, Hyundai, VW, Audi, Benz, Chrysler, BMW, Kia, Nissan, GM, Daewoo. Haven't seen one of those in a long time. Honda. There's a few spaces for some other ones as well. I mean, look at this crazy Mercedes-Benz. I haven't worked on that car. So I guess some of these other vehicles have slightly different interfaces. And I'll probably, quite frankly, never use any of that stuff. Comes with a charger, some books, you know, plug it into the car, different things. But basically, the only thing you're really going to need out of this whole pack, and quite frankly, if they offer it to you, where you can get just this part and this part, that's all you really need. And so, of course, when you get it, you're going to have to do a bunch of updates. But this thing worked. Look, it's already asking for more updates, and I just updated this thing. You hook it up to your Wi-Fi, like I've done, and it's a really simple system. I mean, it's basically a droid when you get to the bottom of it. But when you come into the MaxiSys system here, just to give you the really quick version of what this does and why it's so great, well, let me just show you. All right, this is my 2006 Rolls Royce Phantom, which is based on BMW technology, but there are some specific things that are Rolls Royce. I'm going to plug this into the OBD2. There's no elegant way to do this. And because it's kind of hot outside, I'll just bring you into the car with me. Air conditioning. Okay, so the Bluetooth module is plugged into the OBD2 port. I'm inside the car with the air conditioner on. Hope it's not making too much noise. And then you'll go through here and you'll pick what kind of car it is. I have Rolls Royce favorited at the top. Choose Rolls Royce, and it's going to scan the computer. And this is what makes it so cool. You hit automatic selection, and it will find your VIN number for you. You can punch it in manually if you want, but there it is. It shows me my VIN number, asks me okay. You can verify it, make sure it's correct, just in case it read it wrong, but it didn't. And it already knows everything about this car. It knows its build date, its VIN number, its chassis, it's everything. You confirm by saying yes, and then it's going to establish vehicle communication. And now your choice is diagnosis, service, vehicle profile. We're going to go to diagnosis and hit auto scan, and that's going to take a few minutes. Even though this is a pretty fast system, the Rolls Royce Phantom has more modules in it than most. Now, when I say module, for those of you that don't really know how all this works, they came up with this system. It's called the CAN bus system. It's like a serial data digital interface, so that rather than running a physical two-wire connection to complete every circuit and every single thing, they use these modules that just sends a command to it, and then you can control a whole bunch of things locally. So let's think about the door, for instance. The door has lock, unlock, window up, window down, speakers, electronically heated windows, lighting, and that's a lot of wiring, right? And it has a lot of commands. The seat, for instance, you got headrest up and down, seat forward, back, you know, I mean, there's so many things. So there's this computer module. If you had to run a separate wire from the switch, you'd have to have a cable like that running all the way to each seat. So by accessing these commands, you can control many things with just one digital wire, sending a command. What this thing lets you do is it will let you test each and every single module and every servo attached to it. So a good example of that is the seat wasn't working. The switches weren't working over here for some reason. I know it was working before, but all of a sudden the switches weren't working. I had this other 2004 Rolls Phantom when I figured, well, I'll use it as sort of a temporary parts car. We can borrow parts off of it for testing and then replace them later. So we took the seat switch out of that one, hooked it up to this one, and lo and behold, it worked. But we put the other one that was out of here that wasn't working into there, and then it worked. And believe it or not, a lot of times with these old cars, if you just simply unplug stuff and plug them back in, that fixes it a lot of the times. The rear view video camera on this thing wasn't working. It was giving us a black screen. We unplugged it, plugged it back in, started working. But what's really interesting about this thing is you can go into an active test and you can operate every single thing on the seat. So I knew the seat was working. I knew all the motors were working because you can go through the little buttons and I could make the seat move in all directions via the computer, but not from the switch. So that told me right away that the seat was working, but there was a problem with the connection. But probably there was something wrong with the, you know, the cables or maybe it got corroded. The car's 15 years old, almost 15 years old. So just doing that fixed it. But what's interesting is I can go through and choose every single thing that is actuated in this car, like the windshield wipers, the mirrors, the windows, the anything in the car. So for instance, let's say you have a function and the button isn't working, you can test the thing separately from the button. And that's really interesting. And it'll tell you whether or not it can communicate with that module and whether or not that module is bad. So that's how we diagnosed and fixed the problem with the rear door lock, as we did in the last episode where we were getting that fault code. And I was able to communicate with the door module. I was able to actuate it and operate it. And after replacing basically what we ended up doing is not replacing the actual entire module, just the motor that ran the module. And that seemed to fix the problem, and now it's working. I now have a BMW product, which is a Rolls Royce, with no dash lights on it. And let me tell you something. Any BMW owner will tell you that is pure magic. Getting rid of all of the dash lights on one of these vehicles. I mean, no airbag light, no suspension light, no brake warning, nothing. It's the most beautiful thing to see a completely blank dash with not a single fault code anywhere to be found. Oh, hallelujah. So if you're going to work with luxury cars at all, this is something that you got to have. Now, this thing is a little expensive. I mean, I know this thing is like $1,500, give or take, something like that. But let me tell you, it's worth every penny. Because you're going to spend a couple of $100s an hour to have somebody come out and diagnose things. You can not only diagnose things, but if you're going to own one of these cars yourself and be doing what I'm doing, and you want to change the oil, change the brake pads, things like that, you're going to have a computer like this in order to reset all those CBS codes, as they're called. And like if you reset the oil, reset the brake pads, what transmission fluid, whatever it is you're doing. Here's another great thing about this that's worth every penny. Let's say you were interested in buying one of these and you knew how to operate this thing. Well, when I flew to Sacramento to pick this car up, I took my little Foxwell reader, the smaller version of this that I took, that I've talked about on my channel before. And I could see how many service intervals had been done at the dealer. And I just did the math. It had 60,000 miles. It had X amount of intervals. It came out to about 5,000 miles per service interval. So that means the people that had it were taking care of it. They were taking it to the dealer, and the dealer was resetting the service intervals by every 5,000 miles, meaning it was getting proper oil changes. And it'll tell you exactly how many times anything has been done that the dealer has reset. Another great thing is not only being able to verify that things have been done, but you can reset the codes yourself, saving you a lot of money. But it also tells you when the code was reset. So let's say that you're going to buy a car and you go plug this in and you're checking it out, and you realize that they had just reset the code like yesterday, or maybe an hour before you got there. Now you know they're trying to pull a fast one on you. They've reset the codes. They don't want you to see any dash lights. The way these systems work is it usually takes about 50 to 100 miles for the car to enumerate and to find the fault codes that it's going to have through running through what they call a cycle. That's why if you've ever had the codes reset and then you go to try to go get the car inspected, they'll tell you that you're going to have to come back after like a day or two or after 100 miles so that the car has a reset, because it's in the middle of a testing phase. If you were to check it and it's in the middle of a testing phase, you could tell that seller, look, I'm going to drive this car for 100 miles. We're going to drive it around the city until it enumerates, and we're going to find out if there's any codes, or you're going to be straight and frank with me right now. So it's a good way to keep from getting scammed, because you could find out that it's got some kind of major problem that they reset. Now, the thing is, usually a major problem, it's going to find that problem immediately every time you restart the car. This thing is still scanning. It's at 87%. I've been kind of vamping to try to fill time. But that's only because this car has an unusual amount of modules in it compared to the average car. The average car does not have as many actuated things that this car has. Okay, we're at 100%. Pass, no fault, pass, no fault, pass, no fault. Fantastic. No faults on this car. Now, this is what's interesting. Check this out. Let me go back here. Let me go find something in particular. All right, module number 51, driver's seat module. It says no fault, but check this out. I mean, it'll show me the physical hardware numbers and codes. I can go to active test. Okay, now watch this. Seat adjustment, right? I can, look, seat sled forward here. And then I can go to activate, and oh, okay, well, now it's moving. Okay, wait, stop. Escape, okay. All right, let's see. Seat sled backwards. Activate. There we go. Let me move back. How cool is that? I can operate basically every single thing on this car. I mean, I can go in and test basically anything that has an actuated movement of any kind. The door module, here we go, steering column switch cluster. Let's see what's in there. Active test, fanfare horn, function lighting, steering wheel gear selector switch. I don't want to do that. It would put it into drive probably. So that's what I'm just saying. Everything that you can operate on the car, you can do right here. Now, that's just the basic MaxiSys system that's built into it. Not to mention all the other functions that this thing does. And I can't go into all of them because we would be here for days. I mean, but to give you a quick fill in on some of the things you can do, you can operate remote desktop with this unit. You can actually have another mechanic working your car from their controller. So you can send them the information. They can remotely interface with your car. It has an HDMI port if you want to hook up a TV screen. We see Car Wizard do that with his. He hooks up a TV screen with his if you want to see it on a bigger screen. Or, has USB ports. You could take pictures with it. There's accessories like cameras and things that you can hook up to it. But that remote desktop I thought was pretty cool. The concept that you can have someone else working on the car. I can be inside of my office actually with the Bluetooth working on the thing. I can pull up the service history of this car, maintenance, condition-based service reset, correction value data. It'll show me engine oil, spark plugs, front brakes, rear brakes, coolant. So if I go into number 1 here, it'll show me, let's see, it's opened up some things on the dash here, and it is checking everything. It says here my engine oil is at 89%, spark plugs are at 95% and have been changed twice. Front brakes are at 97% and have been changed 5 times. So it's had 5 brake pads. Rear brakes at 96% have been changed 7 times. Coolant at 99% has been changed 4 times. How cool is that? You can freeze frame these graphics, you can email them, print them out, you can do text messaging, you can communicate with other mechanics. If you are going to own a luxury car like this, or really any OBD2 car, quite frankly, which is everything made past the 90s, I highly recommend one of these. I know it's a lot of money. We're talking like $1,500. But if you're going to be working on cars like this, it's invaluable. And even if you're not going to be doing a lot of service yourself, if you can afford to buy a car like this, you can afford to have a tool like this. And in my opinion, it's worth every penny. You know, you're going to pay $200, $300 an hour to have somebody come and do any of this kind of stuff to your car. So, this is sort of a quick video, show you how this thing works. It's not an in-depth operation. You can go look up the Autel MaxiSys MS906BT, find out more about it. If you want to buy one directly, I'm going to go ahead and put a link below in the video description. So if you're watching on a computer or a phone, it'll be in the video description. If you're watching on a smart TV or something, you'll have to go to the computer and find it. But I'll put a direct link so that you can buy the exact one that I'm using right now. And I'd really appreciate it if you did. Otherwise, you're going to have to take it to the dealer and pay them hundreds of dollars to do what I just showed you how to do. So, it's a wonderful thing. I'm going to show you the most beautiful thing that there is in luxury car. You see that? The car's running. It says 100%. You see that right there? Right there. You see it? Can you see it? That's right. You see nothing. That means there's no lights on the dash. No warnings of any kind. There's, look, what? 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 Yeah. That's something most BMW owners never get to see unless they turn the car off. A running car, no lights. What? 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 Unbelievable. All right, hey, if you like this video and you're interested in Rolls Royce cars and other really cool stuff, we mostly do movie cars here, like the Back to the Future DeLorean Time Machine, Knight Rider, Ghostbusters, A-Team, all that kind of stuff. So every once in a while, I'll review watches, luxury items, fun stuff. So if this is your first time coming here, hey, subscribe. Subscribe, ring the bell, press the like button, all that kind of stuff. You know, send me a cake. I'd love it. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Videobob.